Thank you for the invitation. I will speak in English because my Portuguese is good, but maybe English is better. So even if my expertise is forest fires and forest degradation, and impact of land use change and climate change on forest fires, I'm going to be talking about our work, IPAM's work, with indigenous people and local communities, trying to come up with sustainable development ideas and models and for climate change mitigation and adaptation. So IPAM is a non-profit research institute based in Brazil. We are about 120 people spread in 7 offices along the Amazon and 1 office in Brasilia. So to pass this here. Okay, so climate change is a reality in the Amazon. I guess you guys already know that we have been facing severe droughts in the past decade, extensive forest fires, and a lot of frequent floods. I'm going to talk a little bit about fire just because I think it's a very important issue since the other speakers talk about drought and floods. So fire is a very common tool used in the Amazon, and I guess maybe I should say the entire Pan-Amazon, as a way to convert biomass to productive fuels. So is and also a very potent emitter of CO2. In the Brazilian Amazon, we have 4 different types of fire. The fire that is used for after deforestation, the management fires, the escaped fires that affect management pasture fields and open and crop areas, and the forest fires. As you heard before this morning, Brazil has done a major work in reducing deforestation in the past years. We went, just to give you a number, we went from an average of 17,000 square kilometers per year to 5,000, 4,800 last year. And that is a major, major achievement. I mean, I never could thought about that, that could be possible. And this, I mean, there are many things that contributed to that. We actually put a paper on Science last year in May that explained those main causes that include major innovation in policy and enforcement, the engagement of the market in asking actually for a greener supply chain, the crisis, the world crisis, and also, and one thing, very important thing, the empowerment of civil society about this issue. So we have a scenario where deforestation has decreased a lot, but we do have another scenario where fire in general is not decreasing. Because we had suffered major droughts in the past decade, 2005, 2010, 2007, 2010, a lot of forest catched fire. And so these are the likely future of the Amazon, unlikely speaking, that we are going to face a new fire regime in the region. Just to give you a picture of some of the regions we have been working, those are the 3 main regions in 3 different forest types in the Brazilian Amazon. And you see that in the dry years, we almost lost all the entire, this is a satellite scene, we almost lost all the entire area to forest fires. And this has major influence on these people's lives. I mean, indigenous peoples, traditional communities, which are basically riverine people, rubber tappers, and extractivist people, and smallholders, which are basically settlers and colonists that were put in the Amazon as an agrarian reform, like way to occupy the region. These are the rural poor people that are facing major impacts of climate change. And basically fire, floods, and drought. So just to give you a picture of where these people are located and what is the importance to the integrity of the Amazon as a service to Brazilians and to the world. The indigenous peoples, we have about 400 indigenous territories, which encompasses 22% of the Brazilian Amazon. We are talking about 405. I'm really terrible with numbers in English. 450,000 inhabitants. And this is about 30%. These territories hold about 30% of the carbon stocks of the region. When you talk about rubber tappers, extractivists, forest-based people, riverine people, if we count only the conservation units of sustainable use conservation units, we have about 200 and I can see the number, 203 conservation units, 70% of the Brazilian Amazon. About 250,000 people living in these areas. I mean, I'm not counting the others that are living along the rivers outside these areas that we don't know. We don't have the numbers. And they hold about 19% of the carbon stocks of the region. So finally, the settlers, they are located in about 3,000. This is really hard to see. I should have taken note of these numbers. About 3,000, more than 3,000 settlements in the region. They are small in area, 70% of the Amazon region, but they are large. They hold more than 500,000 people in these regions, and they hold 6% of the carbon stocks. These people right there, the settlers, are the way to reach close to zero deforestation in the region. The reason that we had a major reduction in deforestation in the past 10 years were that most of the large patches of forest that were cut down we don't have those anymore. I mean, they are very small in numbers. So these people, they generate about 3,000 square kilometers of deforestation each year. And it's like they have to almost, because this is the way that they have to plant and it's a food security issue. So if we want, as Brazilians, to reduce more our deforestation limit, we have to work with these people. We have to give support to them to change the way that they interact with the natural resource. We have to give access to public policy of very good loans and very good technical assistance. So, and this is the thing that we are talking about. And just to have an idea where the arc of deforestation is located, so you know that these major groups are either securing deforestation or blocking the deforestation frontier. So we kind of have, we reduce land speculation and further deforestation. So with that context, I'm just going to talk briefly about the work that IPAM has been doing with these communities. We are promoting sustainable development experiences and trying to turn them into models for public policy, and I will give some very short example on that. We are investing in basic research on natural resource resilience to climate change, to support the efforts of climate change mitigation and adaptation. For example, 3 examples of big experiments that we have. We, in one of the national forests, we put some panels in 1 hectare of forest to exclude rainfall, so we would know what would be the impact of reduced rainfall in the forest behavior resilience. The other experiment that we have is a fire. We do have an experimental fire site where we have controls and we put fire at different intervals. It's a huge experiment, and we have a lot of partners from Carnegie University, Max Planck here in Germany, and University of São Paulo, and so on. We also have a huge group of people that analyze public policy and see how this, and create reports to tell how these policies affect the territories of these people, these rural poor people. And we do put a lot of effort in disseminate the information and translate and try to translate. I say try because sometimes even we can't translate the information that we generate to these groups. So with more specifically with indigenous people, we do provide capacity building for indigenous leaders on climate science and UNFCCC negotiations. So since the beginning, since 2000, where IPAM started to come to these UNFCCC conferences, we bring with us indigenous leaders and rubber tapper leaders, so they can know the negotiations, speak, create space for them with that. We support FUNAI, which is the major indigenous agency on building regulations regarding, for example, RED. We develop information dissemination tools, so we just created a platform called SOMAI. It's a web-based platform that has been very informative for indigenous leaders. This has been built with them, so they know which territories are going to be more affected by climate change, by drought, by fire, and things like that. And we build this. The idea is to help them to build their action plans for climate change adaptation, and we run several workshops on that. In terms of traditional extractive communities, we believe that if these people are not organized as governance units, they will not go anywhere, because when we leave their area, they will not do anything. So we put a lot of investment in co-management strategies, which is basically to organize themselves, to put together, to negotiate with, in this case, with ICMBio, which is the government institute that leads with this type of land. We also believe that technical assistance is crucial for these people. You know, Chico Mendes, which was the guy that, how can I say, put forward all this movement of creating land and putting land available to these traditional people to keep their way of life, would cry today if he comes, if he sees how these areas are abandoned by government, and if these people have no access to, almost no access to public policy and technical assistance to put their products out. So this is a food security issue. And these people, as you said, they are very dependent on environment, and any change on environment can have a major impact on their ways of life. I don't know, maybe I just finishing. With settlers and colonies, we also have the same type of work with co-management, with technical assistance. We have some experiment on payment for environmental services with them. And I mean, just to finish, and climate change is a reality, just the final remarks, and is affecting a considerable number of people in the rural Amazon. These people need support, need information, need partnership, and they want to be empowered. They have to be empowered on their role in this game. There is a need to invest, create and recognize well-informed community leaders and build capacity in these communities for that. So next time I won't be here. It will be like one of these guys talking about their communities. NGOs can help a lot because, I mean, we make this bridge. I think Brazil, one of the differences in Brazil is that we have a huge number of NGOs, and we do work freely in a way. And that puts a lot of vanguard in Brazilian policy and environmental use. Thank you.
Obrigado, Anne. C'est vrai que c'est assez... la nuit, on voit mieux les feux et c'est assez terrifiant de survoler l'Amazonie brésilienne de nuit où il y a des feux un peu partout. Ça fait très peur, à vrai dire.